Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Mama G's Hub Podcast. Got two in a row for you today, live, but we got DJ Stutz on here. We're going to be talking about guiding kids genius today. We're really going to dive into how to really bring those strategies and things that build those strong relationships with them, connect them, guiding them, all of that. DJ is going to be up here to do that with us, and we'll get started in just a moment. Of course, I was ready. Welcome to Mama Genius Hub Podcast, where we support moms with big dreams, from entrepreneurship to personal aspirations. I'm your host, Michelle Kaiser, and I'm here to help you unlock your potential in all areas of life. Join us as we explore strategies for thriving in motherhood while pursuing the dreams, the key to actually unlocking your genius. Subscribe now and embark on a journey to realize your fullest potential. DJ is an early childhood specialist, parent coach, and host of the Imperfect Heroes Podcast. I'll be on there shortly. With 20 years of classroom experience and a deep passion for supporting families, DJ helps parents of young children navigate the challenges of early childhood with confidence and love. She specializes in teaching practical strategies for building stronger relationships, instilling values, and fostering resilience. We definitely need to dive into that today. DJ is also a sought-after workshop leader and public speaker known for her compassionate approach and actionable advice. Through her podcasting and coaching, she empowers parents to embrace the imperfections of parenting, yes, while creating a joyful, thriving family life. Welcome to the stage, DJ. We're so happy to have you today.
Thank you. It's so fun to be here.
I love it. And I love your Christmas sweatshirt. I feel like I should be wearing something Christmassy too. But before we dive into the question I have for you first, I just want to know your why behind wanting to do this.
You know, it's very interesting. So I've got 5 kids of my own. I'm the oldest of 7. My 13th grandchild's on the way. Yeah, exciting. But I taught, when I was teaching kindergarten, I taught for all but 2 years in the lowest income school in the district. So my children were the children of gang members. And I would have these sweet parents come to me and, why is Johnny doing this? Why is Susie doing that? And so I just started talking to them. That's how the coaching really started, was by working with them one-on-one and just saying, you know, we can have that conversation if you want, and it may take some changes. In fact, it will definitely take some changes on your part. But if you're willing to work with me, I'm happy to work with you. And that's where the coaching actually started. And then as time went on and COVID hit, it became more intense. I've got students who actually are in high school now that will still call me on the first day of school just to check in and say hi. And that always makes me feel good. But I love making those connections with families and teaching them how to make those connections with their kiddos. And so to approach it with love and confidence and move forward.
I love that so much. I just have to embrace the idea of the love and how you're saying how it will take some of those changes and just opening up that heart and making some of that. And I love how you use the wording fostering resilience.
Yeah.
So often we're trying to protect and shelter instead of letting the mistakes happen, because we are human.
Yeah.
Because they are. And I really want to dive straight into that, because I think that is such a crucial topic, especially as we're going to holidays and doing these things. And yeah, we want them to have fun and joy, but you know, we're going to have the tantrums, we're going to have tiredness, we're going to have out of routine, all of these things. And like, how do we foster that going into this season?
Right. Well, and this is such a perfect season to talk about all of that too, because kids are off of their schedules very often. They're off of their schedules. And if you have a child that is maybe neurodiverse or has some sensitivities to noise or to visual things, that we put up all these decorations and everything, and it can set kids off just because there's too much input coming in. And so we want to be able to really know our kids well enough to say, okay, Johnny's not going to handle this well, or Susie is not going to handle that well. And so how can I set them up for success? I don't want them to miss out on all the parties. I don't want them to miss out on all of the holiday fun that's out there. You know, and then there's even a spiritual component to all of that as well. And we don't want them to miss out. So let's plan ahead. And that's really one of the biggest things of making everyone be successful and having that chance for success is planning ahead. So letting them know this is what's going to happen. We're going to go here. We'll be here for this long, whatever. Then they are able to say, okay, I know this. Timers are even great. We're going to stay for a half an hour because we know that that's all that they can take. And it's okay to say they're going to stay for a half an hour. And then we'll go and everyone else will be happy because then we won't have a screaming kid in the middle of the party. But so we can even set a timer or set their watch. And so that when the timer goes off, you can say, all right, the timer's gone off. Do we need to leave or are you able to handle it? Okay. And whatever their decision is should be fine. There are other times too, like when our kids, it's just too much and they've got to scream and yell. It's okay to just take them outside for a little bit. Let them manage through their own emotions. Even if it's a little bit colder, that's nice. The cold kind of invigorates us. It helps us get our breath. And so it's okay for them to go outside. Let's take a breath for a few minutes and then we can go back in. But really pay attention to what are the limitations of my child. So I'm going to get data. I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to notice that, they handled this for this long or whatever. And then we can say, these are the boundaries that we're going to set because this is what helps you have a better time. I hope that makes sense. So we pay attention. If we need to write it down, write it down. On this day, this happened or whatever, set them off so that helps you prepare more as you're going through the season.
I love that so much, and I'm taking notes as we speak. But how to really be that detective for your kid and to really just to look out at what are the reactions that your child is having, and then having those conversations and things, and then being more predictive to what situations you want to go in. I think your feed's a little frozen, just so we know.
Oh, no. Typical for this. We've had a day.
we're making it through StreamYard, but at least we see you and we see your lovely sweater on as well. And so we'll be back in just a moment. We'll take a commercial break. Maybe that'll clean things up a little bit. Be right back. Attention mompreneurs. Do you feel like you're constantly juggling the responsibilities without a moment to yourself? It's time to pause and reflect with our Mama Genius quiz. Tailored for busy mamas like you, this quiz will help you identify what's blocking your path and inspire you to harness your unique strengths. Transform how you manage life and business, find your rhythm, and ignite your joy. Visit mamageniushub.com today to discover your Mama Genius. Again, that's mamageniushub.com. And we're back. You're here with us, I hope. But still frozen. That's okay. We'll move forward.
Okay.
We're all good at this point. You know what? It's the wording, it's the messaging, it's the showing up where we're at, and we're gonna keep moving forward.
It kind of goes with our message of go with the flow and kind of making things work even when it's not perfect.
And there have been a couple times that I've been cut off a live stream and the guest has taken over. And so, you know what? We roll with it here.
We are.
But we were talking really about that resiliency and we went back to when they're off schedule and stuff. And so honestly, actually, I think this actual episode, actually, you know what? I'm not going to say anything because my brain's not working right now. But what we're looking at the resiliency and the kids, and you were also talking about how do we build those stronger relationships. I loved how you were talking about boundaries and setting those boundaries for our kids, because I know that will help with the relationships. What else can we do to dive in and really create those foundational relationships with our kids?
Yeah, so I have a workshop, and then I do some public speaking too, and one of my talks is called "Meltdowns Are My Favorite," and it's maybe approaching things with an understanding that when our kids fail at something, and whether that's being able to keep it all together at a party or at the store, or they're trying something new and they fail, they fall, they whatever. But when you talk to the masters of industry, so to speak, they will say they learn far more from their failures than they did from their successes. And that is true, I think, all throughout life. And so when we have a quote unquote failure, it's good for us to sit back and say, oh, I've got something to learn here, or my child has something to learn here. So how can we make this work better? We want to make it developmentally appropriate. So what's age appropriate is not always what's developmentally appropriate with our kids. So we want to see them for where they are right now, and then what's the best thing for them at this time. So maybe it is getting them a time to calm down, or setting boundaries. We don't speak this way. We don't behave this way. We can remove ourselves if we're feeling overwhelmed. But to do this, though, as not, oh, it's another nightmare. Oh, they're doing it again, right? But to say, oh, okay, here's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity for them to learn, and it's an opportunity for me as mom or dad to learn about how we can help our kiddo manage through it, give them the tools to do better next time, or to turn it around even in the middle of it. And so we'll look at it as an opportunity. Oh, okay, we're going to learn something here. And you move forward with that. It really changes the whole dynamic.
I totally agree with that. And I think a lot of times we give the word failure a bad rap, and mistakes. And I mean, they are actually parts of life. And I know we'd rather not, like if we were learning to play the guitar, we'd rather go from not having those mess ups to like just being a professional guitar player, right? But that's not reality. But we kind of coined that for ourselves somewhere along the lines of, after our kids are walking, like every time they fell, it was so cute. But then the next steps are always a little bit harder.
Right.
But my point was, there was something Sarah Blakely, her dad always did around the dinner table that I've taken on at times, not always, but we've had the conversation a lot. What is something you failed at today? And like, you had to have a good story and something. And so I think it's really the way that we look at things really is where that perspective change comes into play. Because when we celebrate those and realize that these are life lessons and something to learn from, then we're not so afraid of doing it wrong. And wrong might actually teach you to do a better way anyways from that lesson. And I think I love how you're talking about the resilience and everything. And the key here is learning the tools that come from the failure.
Absolutely. And saying, oh, so what did we learn here? Asking your child, what did we learn about this? This didn't go so well. I can remember my youngest daughter, she was thinking about doing a bowling party, for her 5-year-old, because he seemed to like to bowl for his birthday. And so Nana and Poppy, my grandkids call us Nana and Poppy, and we went with them bowling, and we found out that he is really good for one game of bowling. You go into a second game, whoa, that didn't turn out well. And so I could see my daughter kind of getting flustered and worried. And I'm like, no, this is all good. We've learned something here. He can play one game of bowling very well. So when we plan the party, we're going to plan it for just that one game. And I could just kind of see her calm me down a little bit, like, oh, you're right, And so, and so I think as we look at that and look at those opportunities and recognize too that it's really, really important for us to have boundaries. Super important that the kids know what to expect, and that those boundaries don't depend on whether mom or dad had a bad day, or whether they're feeling well, or they're tired, or they're hangry, or whatever, but that the boundaries are there, period. The fun thing is that when you invest that time in the front and letting them know, yeah, mom's really tired, but this is still the rule, right? Eventually they'll get to that point where they know that and they won't challenge it. And you can be sick, or you can need to decompress, and they will say that, oh, mom needs that space, but this is still the boundary. And they do pick that up. It takes some time. It's not going to happen overnight. But when they are able to see that, and you don't have to be an ogre about filling those boundaries in. It's like, yeah, no, we don't do that. Well, fine, I'm just going to throw a fit in the middle of the grocery store. Well, you can throw a fit in the middle of the grocery store, but we're still not getting the Cocoa Puffs, right? That's the boundary that we're doing. And so you can do it in a kind way, but you're still firm. You don't have to scream and yell to be firm. And our kids will learn to take that attitude on then as they go to school and to do things, when we establish that as part of our family dynamic.
Oh, I love that so much. And it's so true that we don't have to do it that way. And a lot of times our reaction first is to just yell. But again, it's a practice. And it's also, I love how you're putting it like with that resilience. I want to put that out for the moms too. It's also giving yourself grace because
Oh,
you're human too. And if you do yell at that moment, okay, not a complete failure, right? What do we learn from that and how do we do it different? And I just love to bring this up too, is that a lot of times it's us then showing them what we do after the fact. Like
mm,
after we yells, when we go apologize or we go show
mhm.
them what we were feeling and how we're thinking. Again, we're human, it's going to happen. It's a, how do we regulate ourselves and be that role model for our kids.
Absolutely. And I don't know if this has happened to you, but it's happened to me. And I've got this like really big personality, oldest of 7, 5 brothers, just big personality. And there have been times when I have been after my kids and I'm thinking, wait a minute. When did I start yelling? I have I didn't mean to start yelling, but all of a sudden I catch myself and I find myself yelling. And so then I have to stop and say, wait, I have no idea when I started yelling. I'm still upset. We're still having these boundaries, but I'm going to go get a drink of water. I'm going to do whatever. I have no Did you notice I was yelling? That's been a fun one too. Yeah, we noticed. And so it's like, yeah, okay, let me take a breath. We'll come back. We'll talk about this. But even as soon as you catch yourself doing, whether it's language you don't want to use, volume you don't want to use, body language that you don't want to use, because some of these things are just so instinctual and they're so habitual that you don't catch yourself until you're into it. And you don't have to say, well, I have to finish my point. No, you've made your point quite well, I'm sure. And so just the better point is to say, whoa, wait, this is not how I meant to say. This is not how I meant to present myself. This is not how whatever. And then stop right there. Let the kids see you do that. And then back up and say, let's start over again. Or let's take a breath in. Then we can move on. When kids see you doing that, it really sends such a strong message, and it allows them to see, oh, mom screws up sometimes, dad screws up sometimes. My podcast is Imperfect Heroes. There are no perfect parents. If you're a believer, even Mary and Joseph were mortal. So it's so we hold ourselves to the standard that doesn't exist. It's impossible to obtain. So we continue to try to move forward in a positive way, recognizing our mistakes and then learning from them and overcoming them, and talk about teaching your children resilience.
I love that so much. And I was picturing as you're talking, just like how we've always put parents on pedestals or we put people of authority on pedestals and we try to put them higher up, which isn't reality. And that's what lowers our own self-esteem, our own belief, our own worthiness when we do that. And so the more that we show our kids that we are part of the humanness of it all, and we do make mistakes and we do have, but again, it is always, what do you do when you fall? How
Mm-hmm.
do you pick yourself back up? And that's a lesson you really wanted to learn for yourself and role model for your kids.
So true. So true. And I think too, if we don't get upset with our kids when they they thought they liked these shoes, but then they get them home and after a week you realize these shoes are hurting the feet of my child because they're the cool shoes, or they light up, or they had the glitter, or whatever it was, and they weren't quite the right size, but the kids wanted them so badly. So how are we going to manage through with that kind of a event of quote unquote failure? How do we help them manage through? Oh, they didn't study, or they did study and froze up when they had a test at school or whatever. And so it's like, okay, well, let's figure out, what did we need to do better? They didn't get to play as much as they wanted to on their baseball team, or I don't know, whatever. Okay, well, am I going to go yell at the coach, or am I going to help you learn how to be a better player? And so as we approach these things, our kids are going to learn more productive and better ways to contribute and to gain success in their own right.
I love that so much. Ways to like contribute and be part of it. And I think that's what it really comes down to is how we do that and coming to the idea. And I love that your podcast is Imperfect Heroes because we are imperfectly perfect. And I think that's where it really comes in being the hero is realizing that the hero-ness comes from the imperfection and not trying to be perfect all the time. And I know with mothers, that is such a hard thing to embrace at all because we have Pinterest, we have all these things where we're supposed to do all these things, and looking at your daughter with the bowling party and like it needs to look this way. But when we get down at the eye level of our kids and look at through their eyes and the way that they see it, everything seems to change a bit.
It really does. And I think in fact, I just had a conversation on my podcast. His name is Andrew Peterson. And I don't know if you know of the Wing Feather Saga, and he's a big Christian music artist. But anyway, he was really amazing in how he talked about how it is those imperfections. It is that, that we're able to move forward and learn more about ourselves, who I am as an individual, who I am as a parent, and then help our kids see this is how you learn about yourself.
I love that. I think that's a perfect segue to take our break and talk about the Mama Genius Hub.
Do you ever feel like your own dreams are fading on you as you focus and keep everything together for your family, or been buried under laundry and school runs and endless to-do lists? They're so deep, you don't even know what they are anymore. The Mama Genius Hub is here to help you uncover that part of you again. Maybe you felt that pull to start a passion project, return to a hobby you once loved, or pursue a career that lights you up, but you're so caught in everyone else's needs that you keep slipping through the cracks. In just 15 minutes a day, our mini courses will help you reconnect with those dreams while finding a new rhythm in motherhood's beautiful, messy life. And best of all, you'll be doing it with a community of moms who truly understand the juggle and the joy. The Mama Genius Hub is a community who've been there and are here to support and inspire each other every step of the way. It's time to rediscover your spark, live in your genius, and inspire your kids by showing them how to follow their own passions. Join the Mama Genius Hub today and start creating space for you again without guilt for doing it solo.
Come to www.connectingmamas.com for more details.
And we're back. And I'm loving this conversation so much about the imperfect and everything, but which also kind of leads me into our final question for you today, which is, what is a common misconception about motherhood you think holds many moms back from truly stepping into their genius?
I think there might be a couple and the first one is, I can do it all.
Oh yeah.
I can do it all and I can do it well. And that's just a load of hoo-ha. It's wrong. And so when you hold yourself to that standard, that's unachievable. But it's okay to say, yep, my son wants to play football. All right. When we say yes to something, that means we're saying no to something else. Every time we say yes to something, what are we giving up for that? Maybe it's some dinners at the table. Maybe it's our Saturday weekends, or maybe whatever it is. But be really upfront when you're taking on something new. Really be upfront about and think about it, and maybe even write it down. Have a discussion with your spouse or your, and your kids. If we take this on, if Mama takes this on, if Daddy takes this on, if Joey takes this on, what is the whole picture of that? And so everyone sees what the expectations are and what we're giving up. And if we're agreeing, are we all agreeing to giving this up? Because you're going to give up things, and that's okay. That's fine. Or maybe you're postponing things. That's okay. That's fine. I raised my kiddos, and then I went and finished my teaching degree and moved on. So I didn't really give it up. I just postponed it for a little bit. So be realistic about what your reality is. That seems like a word salad there, but just be thoughtful about, this is what I can do now. And that's okay.
I love that so much. And we're going to put you backstage for a minute and give a couple takeaways from today. We'll have you right back. What a powerful conversation about resilience and just being in that young mind. So let's go through some of the takeaways from today. Is first of all, planning ahead in terms of figuring out what is your kid's schedule? What are the boundaries? Excuse me. Especially in the holidays, especially in these times where there could be so much stimulus going on and stuff. And so figuring out maybe it is only 30 minutes and setting those timers, which then leads us into number 2, which I kind of alluded to, which is setting those boundaries and figure out, being that detective, figure out what can my child actually handle. So we had the idea of the bowling game, and that they could do one bowling game, right? That's okay. When we start to figure out those things and realize that we can work with that. And that leads us to number 3, which I love that she put this: meltdowns are my favorite. And that we learn from those failures, and we learn that they're not necessarily setbacks or things, but how do we learn, and then giving developmentally appropriate ideas to help them calm and tools for them to change perspective. We also talked about that perspective failure and how we can change that to be, what is the lesson learned from that? We're all going to fail. We're all going to do things not perfect the first time, because, it leads us into number 4. We're imperfectly perfect, right? As moms, we need to give ourselves some grace. And when we find ourselves yelling or find ourselves doing ourselves, it's okay. Catch yourself. And then what do you do next with it is the beauty of the lesson. The role model that you're trying to be for your kids is the next step. It's going to happen. We're going to catch ourselves yelling. We're going to catch ourselves doing these things. That's okay. But the next step is key, which leads us into number 5, is really being that role model for your kids, is really leaning into that perfectly imperfect. And what does that mean for you? How are you finding out who you are and how to discover who you are? Then you can show your kids how to discover who they are. I'm going to bring DJ back for her takeaway. Oh, no, we don't see you, but can we hear you?
Oh, no. Of course.
Well, give us your takeaway, why we have the black screen.
Well, so part of my takeaways is that just give yourself grace, give your children grace, and then you will find that your life, once you have your own values and your own goals set, and then a plan on how we as a team are going to get there, whether those goals are for yourself or for your family, or for your child, let's see what we can do it as a team and move forward in that.
And why don't you tell everyone how they can get a hold of you, and if you have a gift or anything for the audience.
Absolutely. So yes, I do. I have Imperfect Heroes. So I have the Imperfect Heroes Podcast.com. That's where you can find it. And it's on all the platforms. And then I also have my coaching website and all of that stuff. That's imperfectheroes.net is that. And so there's that. And then too, if you want to come on and want to spend just 50 minutes just talking to me, feel free. You can always go and I have my Book Me account. That's my calendar. And if people want to come on and register, I would love to just spend 50 minutes with you, and let's share ideas and see what's going on with you. And I'd love to offer that to your listeners.
I love that so much. Thank you so much, DJ. Thank you so much for joining us today and really diving into what kind of connections we can actually make with our kids. And I love that you use the word resilience so much, because it really isn't about the perfection of it. It's about what happens after, and the resilience of how do we get those tools in our toolbox for ourselves, and then we can model that for our kids. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you all on the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for joining us in today's episode of the Mama Genius Hub podcast. If you found value in our conversation, please share this episode with another mama who might benefit. Sharing helps us build a supportive community and reach out to more mamas like you. After all, it's more fun when we do motherhood together. Until next time, stay motivated and continue to pursue your dreams as you shine in your genius.